G'day guys, Clarky here. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we'll be doing a 2019 NRL Redraft. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are probably wondering what the hell that is. I've seen the concept sort of done a lot over NFL and NBA pages where a draft is a lot more prominent. Obviously, it has been in our sport before. Back in 1991, it was quickly scrapped. Other Australian sports like the AFL do have it, so it is possible. And it's actually being discussed at the moment. So Peter V'landys has backed the introduction of an NRL draft. This is what he said. He said, "We'll certainly be looking at it because the talent system is not the most appropriate. In good corporate governance, everything has to be reviewed to ensure we're using best practice. Everything is on the table. When you review something, you review the whole system. We are open to changes. There is no doubt about that. But we have to do it in partnership with the Players Association." Now, that last sentence is probably the most important. If the RLPA, which is the Rugby League Players Association, if they were to come back and say, well, no, we don't want to draft, we'd rather just have certain contracts and have our futures secured, then they really can't progress with this. So a lot of it does depend on the RLPA. But under his proposal, players that are off contract and have played at least 2 seasons of NRL would be eligible for this draft. So it's not necessarily a rookie draft, which is what I've done here. I just wanted to do this because it's something I'd done up in the past and never really got around to posting because there was never really any talk of a draft. And now we have that talk. I feel like it could be a good time to upload this video. So basically, players with 2 years of NRL experience or under, players that play reserve grade in Queensland or New South Wales Cup are eligible. And if you have played under 2 years experience, i.e. you're a rookie or you're waiting to make your debut, you can actually ask your club for, you put in a request to your club saying, hey, can I enter the draft? And they let you know yes or no. So that's pretty much what's happening in our game at the moment as far as drafts are concerned. But look how dirty my jumper is from doing the deck today. But without further ado, guys, let's jump on to the 2019 NRL Redraft. I've used the 2018 ladder finishes to make each of my selections here, i.e. the Eels finished last, so they would have first pick. So let's get into it. I mean, the Eels, with the first pick of the 2019 NRL Redraft, select Payne Haas. Don't really need to explain this one. I mean, they just do. He's easily the best rookie from last year. He won Rookie of the Year. And the Eels have been out on the lookout for a prop. First they wanted Christian Welch, and then he did his ACL. I believe they were chasing a prop prior to that also, but they missed out on him. And subsequently, they ended up getting Regan Campbell-Gillard. But in a perfect world for the Eels, they wouldn't have needed to sign Regan Campbell-Gillard because they would have got rookie Payne Haas. With the second pick, the Manly Seagulls would select Maika Sivo. Now, obviously, Ruben Garrick did emerge there last year on the wing, and he's a fantastic goal kicker. Probably a little bit more of a complete player than Maika Sivo, but Sivo's offense can't be questioned. He's one of the most dominant wingers in the game already, and you have to imagine he'd do a fair bit of damage. Imagine defending an edge of Moses Sully and Maika Sivo. It wouldn't be very fun out there. With the third pick, the Gold Coast Titans would select Bronson Sherry. Now, this was obviously prior to his ASADA suspension when this was made, so obviously that would change things a lot now. But if we are doing a redraft, they wouldn't have known that at the time. But yeah, the Titans, they're just desperate for some outside strike. Their wingers and centers are all consistent, but then they don't have that X factor that the Titans really do need to sort of break themselves out of the bottom 4. For the fourth pick, the Cowboys would select Ryan Pappenhausen. Now, they would make this selection because, at the time they were weighing up signing Alex Johnston. They were weighing up signing Latrell Mitchell. But in the end, they were really just waiting for Valentine Holmes to come back from the US to sign him. So, they could have got this rookie, Ryan Pappenhausen, who, they've heard good things about. Give him a chance while they wait for Holmes. And, they would have really surprised them. They would have a lot of competition right there. He could have even forced Holmes onto the wings in this alternate reality world that we're living in. For the fifth pick, the Bulldogs would pick Dylan Brown. They would pick Dylan Brown because he's, highly touted in the lower grades, and they're desperate for a young star in the halves. It's looking like it's not going to be Brandon Wakeham. It's not going to be Lachlan Lewis. It's not going to be Jack Cogger. So they could very well, in a perfect world, have a halves combination of Dylan Brown, who is a future New Zealand Kiwis representative, and Kieran Foran, a current New Zealand representative. So that really, if we did have a draft, that would really, really change the Bulldogs' fortunes, I would say. With the 6th pick, the Knights signed Britton Nikora. Not really too much to explain there. They don't necessarily need a back rower, but someone of Britton Nikora's, caliber, he probably fits straight into their starting 13. So it just makes sense for them to grab him. For the Canberra Raiders, I'm going to predict for the 7th pick in the draft that they draft Patrick Carrigan from the Brisbane Broncos. Now, Carrigan to me reminds me a lot of Corey Horsburgh, who they already have at the club. But I would say Patrick Carrigan probably has a little bit more potential and a little bit more leadership at this stage in his career, given the fact he's already been co-captain of the Brisbane Broncos. So the Raiders would select Patrick Carrigan, and he would play very much the same role off the bench that Corey Horsburgh currently plays for that club. And for the 8th pick, the West Tigers would sign Ruben Garrick, or draft Ruben Garrick. Fantastic goal kicker, fantastic player, great finisher on the wing there. He starts for them, so it just makes sense for them to do that. All right, now we're moving on to our top 8 teams and the top 8 picks. So the New Zealand Warriors finished 8th in 2018, and I believe that they would select Corey Horsburgh. They would select him because, they're going after these young forwards at the moment. We've seen them upgrade Ali Katoa. We've seen them try to sign Toby Rudolph. And there's a couple other young forwards that escape my mind right now that the club has either re-signed or has signed for next year. They're going after young talent in the forward pack, and Corey Horsburgh fits that mold, so Corey is their draft pick. For the Dragons, they would draft Brent Naden. 2018, we didn't really start to see the decline of Tim Laffey or Ewan Aitken. It was more so in 2019, but they really do need that strike out wide at the moment. I think a Brent Naden and Braden Williami centre combo would really, really benefit the Dragons at this stage. So even though, they're one of the top 8 picks, they're still getting a fantastic player. For the Brisbane Broncos, they would draft Scott Drinkwater, and I believe they would play him in fullback. This would leave Jermaine Osako on the wing. You'd have Scott Drinkwater as your fullback, and it would have allowed Anthony Milford to play in the 5/8 role there. But they do have the option, if they want to put Drinkwater and Croft and Old Storm combo in the halves, then they also have that option to move Milford to fullback. So this draft would have given the club a lot of freedom around their spine and a fantastic player on top of that. For the what are we up to? The 5th last pick in the draft. The Panthers would draft Kyle Flanagan from the Cronulla Sharks at this stage. Now, they would draft him because that would give them 2 of the best young halves in the competition in Nathan Cleary and Kyle Flanagan. And I'm not sure how that combination will work because they both sort of play that game managing role, but so did James Maloney and Nathan Cleary. So there is evidence to suggest that the Panthers' system, their attacking shapes and structure, it can work around 2 dominant halves that like to control the game. So therefore, I think Kyle Flanagan would have been a very good draft for the Panthers. And on top of that, he's also a goal kicker. You're basically getting 2 of the best young halves and 2 great young goal kickers there. So that's a good one there. Jake Turpin to the Cronulla Sharks for the next pick in the draft. I think the Sharks would make this because Turpin has a lot of potential. He can play in the halves also, but his best position is hooker. And, with Jaden Brayley leaving the club at the end of last year, they needed to replace him with someone. And Jake Turpin definitely, he'd be there right now with Blake Brayley, and it would be 50-50 who'd be starting between them. I would probably say Jake Turpin would be starting. For a rookie, at this stage, he would be a rookie. He had a fantastic season, and it's a really, really smart draft pick there for the Sharks. With the 3rd last pick in the draft, the South Sydney Rabbitohs would draft Thomas Flagler. Now, they would do this for 2 reasons. Number one is because Wayne Bennett would know his potential from his time in the Brisbane system, and he'd know that he's a fantastic player. But he'd also be able to be coming in and learning from the Burgess brothers, Sam Burgess, before he retires. In particular, George Burgess, as it would go on to be, would depart the club. So that way they would have another big man. And also, I just think when you look at that Rabbitohs 17, they are probably thin on one more quality prop. And Thomas Flagler could really be that man. You could have Thomas Flagler starting alongside Tom Burgess. Your back row could be Jaden Sewer and Cameron Murray, and your lock could be Liam Knight. And then off the bench, you'd still have a lot of experience and talent there. So the second last pick in the draft, guys, the Melbourne Storm would draft Zach Lomax. They would do this for two reasons. The first reason is they are short on outside backs, and Lomax can play wing and centre. They are losing Adokar and Vunivalu next year, and last year they lost Curtis Scott and Will Chambers. So they've essentially lost their whole, 2 to 5 in the last couple years. So Zach Lomax would come straight into this side. And also, if Cameron Smith was to retire, they replace him with a goal kicker because Zach Lomax can goal kick. So that is a very, very smart draft. And Lomax still a rookie, incredible future ahead of him, great player. And for the last pick in the draft, the Sydney Roosters would draft Tom Dearden from the Brisbane Broncos. Now, they would do this because obviously they would have missed out on Kyle Flanagan in this universe, and Tom Dearden provides a young option to come in and be mentored by Cooper Cronk. We don't know the ceiling of Tom Dearden yet, but we do know he helped the Broncos defeat the Roosters the year before last year. Or was it last year? It was 2019. Yeah, he helped the Broncos defeat the Roosters last year. Now, the Roosters had Cooper Cronk as their halfback, who was the most experienced NRL halfback in history. And Tom Dearden, at the time, was the most inexperienced. I think it was his first or second game. He was the most inexperienced halfback for that round. So, obviously, he has a lot of talent there. The Roosters know this firsthand because he helped beat them, and he'd be a perfect person for Cooper Cronk to mentor. But there it is, guys. With all this talk of the draft, let me know below. Are you guys excited? Would you like to see a draft in the game? How did you think my draft went? Would you have made any changes to the draft that I've put out? And just how you enjoyed this video. Just sort of a casual chat. I'm literally just leaning here, just kicking back. Nothing scripted, nothing to go off. I'm just seeing names and talking as I go. It's a little bit more free, but it just depends what you guys want to see. If you prefer this style, or if you prefer sort of a script or at least dot points so I don't ramble on potentially. Thanks a lot, guys. I will see you in future videos. Take care of yourselves.